with corporations becoming increasingly woke and forcing their weird ideology onto products, I do think we really need to combat this in the only way that we can. And I do think the major way we can stop established franchises from being ruined is just force them into the public domain. Warhammer 40K should be public domain. Star Trek should be public domain. Lord of the Rings, Narnia, everything needs to go in the public domain. Because if everyone is perverting a work, if everyone is putting their own weird twist on it, if everyone's putting out like all these products, if you have like companies actually competing with each other, like doing like radically different things, like there is no narrative, right? Like they can't ruin the entire entertainment industry if anyone can just put together a good adaptation of Star Wars or whatever, right? And I do think that's probably the way forward because when you really look at what the companies are doing, like they aren't putting out any good products. So why exactly are they maintaining ownership of the over the IP? To me, I think forcing them to give up the IP, forcing them to put everything into the public domain, that is the way forward. Because these companies will just take the hits like whenever their products don't do well, like, oh, we'll just do the same thing next time until they learn to love it. But no, like nobody's interested in doing that. That's been very clearly demonstrated at this point. So we really need to take it to the next level, I think, and we do need to force the franchises out of their cold dead fingers and give them the people who can actually produce something worthwhile, right? I can tell you right now, I could produce better Star Wars novels than what Disney produces. I could do that. Uh, and if Superman was in the public domain, I could do that. It's it's one of those things, right? Like, why exactly are we not pushing to eliminate the privileges of the corporations, right? Because it's not really an individual issue. Like, too many people, I think, are like blaming Kathleen Kennedy specifically for the decline of Star Wars, when in reality, like, the IP was in decline for years, right? Like, even like back when Return of the Jedi came out, people were like complaining about the Ewoks and like the weird overlap with like George Lucas was like legit inspired by the Viet Cong apparently. Why don't we just acknowledge that Star Wars had a very good entry film, right? The first one, and then it was a slow, gradual decline. Why are we like obsessed with like keeping this series going in perpetuity? Like, why can't we just acknowledge that the series is over and that it should enter the public domain and that we don't need any new content for it? Right? Like in any official capacity. Like, why can't we do the same thing with Lord of the Rings? Because like Tolkien's dead, he has been since 72. Like, why don't we just like force it into the public domain? Ensure that the original work is forever untouched, untarnished, and then like people can just do public domain stuff. Like, what exactly is the benefit of having these IPs, these intellectual properties, controlled by corporations? Like, from where I'm sitting, none. Because they have no talent, they have no prestige, they just throw money everywhere. Like, again, this is, I think, what investors and like the community should be pushing for. Is just the straight up abolishment of the abuse of these IPs. If you want to make money off of a product, make something new.